Welcome! Well, hello, howdy! Glad you're here! I got something pretty special for you guys today. We're doing a review of the Asmodus C4 Low Profile RDA. You ever met someone and, maybe, why am I blurry? Well, there we go. Have you ever met someone and you hit it off with them and maybe you just don't find them attractive. Maybe they don't find you attractive. Maybe there's just no attractiveness between you. But then when you're together, dirty times, naughty times, things just seem to make everything right, and it's fantastic. Well, I introduced to you the C4 by Asmodus Vapor. There you go. Let's see if I get that to focus in. Not at first glance, when I first saw this, now, I will say this. I was sent this by Asmodus for the purpose of this review. That's not going to change how I feel about this, or it's not going to change what I think or my review on it. Everything's going to be completely honest. When I first saw it, I was not impressed. I really, honestly, I was kind of taken aback by how this thing looked. It's aesthetically, it is not something that would catch my eye. It's flashy. It comes in different colors, and you'll see the colors in the intro there. There's purple and gold and blue and green, red, but they're very bold colors. So not something that at first glance I would actually look at it and want to purchase. But I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I'm reviewing this for you guys, because this, honestly, is a hidden gem. The flavor on this, if you've never heard of the C4 by Asmodus, thank God you're watching today, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This thing, the flavor on this thing is absolutely amazing. I've been vaping it now for almost a week, and I have not put it down. It is fantastic. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring to you the Asmodus RDA. Let's take it down to the macro here. All right, here we go. I'm waiting on a build mat. I'm supposed to be getting a build mat soon, so I no longer will have to do these reviews on a towel or on my busted up KP mat. Okay, so packaging for the Asmodus. If you look here, it comes in one of these little, I actually like these. It comes in a little cylinder type plastic thing. These are great. These are good for storage. When you're done with it, you can throw it back in there. Kind of, it doesn't take up much space to keep it around. I actually like the presentation of this. The BTFC comes in one of these, and a lot of other devices are starting to come with it. I got a Rebel Squonk, and they're all starting to come in these cylinder packages, and I really, really like it. I think it's a good idea. They give you an instruction manual, basic, really not a whole lot in here that you need to be aware of. Kind of just the general information, warning information, things like that. It does give you some of the specs on the C4 RDA. It's stainless steel, so the deck is stainless steel, gold plated, which I'll show you here in a second. The cap is actually anodized aluminum. Now you're asking, why would they make something aluminum? Well, I'll tell you, first off, it's anodized, so it's a lot stronger than regular aluminum. You're not going to dent or scratch or pierce this cap. It's fairly solid. But the great thing about aluminum is aluminum has what's called very low specific heat. And what specific heat is it's the ability of an object to cool down after being heated up. For example, water has a very high specific heat. When you heat water, it will stay hot for a long time, like when you take a bath. Aluminum, once it gets hot, it cools down immediately. The great thing about using it for a top cap that I really, really like with this RDA is this RDA doesn't really get hot. And if it does, it cools off immediately. I haven't had any like piercing hits where it was super, super hot and I like pulled it from my lips like, oh my God. It's not that. And that's why it's anodized, because it will keep it from getting that piercing quick hotness. But since it's aluminum, it cools down really quickly, which I like. All right, let's take a look at what's in the box. Okay. So you got the basic standard stuff that comes with 99% of RDAs. One thing they do give you, they give you a Delrin drip tip. It's got dual O-rings, so it's a goon style. drip tip 810, concaved in here, so it kind of, if you can see that, both of the drip tips are restrictive. So they're not wide open 810 drip tips. They're actually restricted hits, which you'll see on the device makes it a lot better for flavor. I know anybody who's looking for flavor, you don't want a wide open hit. So it does help with the flavor, I feel. You have that drip tip, and then you have the second drip tip, which is here, which is like a stabwood resin, they say. You know, it looks like resin. It could be acrylic. I can't really tell. They put in the specs that it's stabwood resin, though. So that's how I'm going to introduce it. It's got like that honeycomb pattern around it. Pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of a snakeskin type looking thing. I could really take it or leave it. I think it dresses it up a little bit, but it doesn't really match. And I think that's one of the things with it. I mean, this is not, to me, it's just not an aesthetically pleasing RDA. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, the girl or guy you pick up that's, you know, not that great looking, but they're really, you know, perform really well, you know, but you may not want to carry it around with you. That's how I kind of feel about this. So what else is in the bag? You get a set of coils from Omni Coils. These are Tricore 26 gauge fuse Claptons with 38 gauge. I don't know exactly what they are. I assume they're nichrome. They weren't magnetic. I mean, I know that, so they're not Canthal. They don't really look that bad. I don't typically use the coils out of this because I know they're made in China and they're dirty, so I don't really suggest using them. But if you're in a pinch and you have a way to clean them, then it's something you can definitely look at, and it's a convenience, quite frankly. They don't have to put those in there, so it really is a convenience and something nice for the consumer if you don't have it. 2 Allen keys. One big pro for me on this RDA is its Allen key deck. I was talking about this yesterday. I love Allen key decks. Deck screws. I'm not a fan of flat heads. I'm really not a fan of Phillips heads. I like Allen key. They're very easy to use, and you can get it precisely tightened up without having to crank it down, which I think is really, really nice. Get 2 Allen keys. One large for the squonk pin and a smaller one for the deck. Gold-plated squonk pin is not installed. It actually comes separate right there. Give you about 6 O-rings. There's 2 O-rings here on the bottom of the RDA that hold the top cap on, and there's 2 on the drip tips. So they give you a set of 6, so you have basically a spare of each one and then an extra one after that. All right, top cap I already talked about. Anodized aluminum, cools down really quickly. It's got this weird, I don't know, reminds me of one of those like tribal tattoos people used to get back in the 90s. You guys remember those? The tribal tattoos? It reminds me of that. But yeah, it's got that going all the way around it. So it take it or leave it. Not my thing, but you can take it or leave it. It's got a pretty large size air hole. So you would think that it has major airflow, but one of the best things about this RDA is the airflow design. So it's a 24 millimeters by 29 millimeters tall. So it's a low profile. It sits very low and tight, kind of like the Goon LP. The airflow. So there's 9 of these little honeycomb type holes here on the side of the RDA. These holes travel through this large deck. The deck is basically the posts are built out to give it a more constricted deck, and it also helps with flavor. Now, one thing about these airflow holes is they have to travel a pretty good distance to the coil. What that does, what air does when it goes through a cylinder is it constricts. So when the air comes out the other side here, when you're pulling the air through, comes out the other side, it's like pinpointed onto the coil. So you get this really, really tight, pinpointed, flavorful vape. And I think that's partly why the flavor on this is so great, is because of how the way that these honeycomb holes are and the way that the air comes in. It comes in at a 25-degree angle down towards the coil. So I think that's probably, those 2 factors there are the reason why the flavor on this thing is just out of this world. That's a huge pro. Another pro for the deck is the squonk pin protrudes from the deck, and it runs down. There's two, if you can see it here, there's two little notches. Let me see if I can get that closer for you guys to see. There's two notches here, one on either side of the squonk pin. When you squonk this device, it goes directly over to the side, and then it's angled so that the juice runs right onto your wick. And it wicks incredibly. Like, I have not had a dry hit, I mean, at all with this thing. So, big pro with how it wicks. Another pro is that it does not leak. I challenge anybody to try to get this to leak. It won't. And there's a couple reasons why. One, the juice well is 6 millimeters deep, which is a pretty deep juice well on a single coil. Granted, it's 24 millimeters, so it's a bigger RDA, but 6 millimeters deep is pretty deep juice well for a single coil. The holes that it would leak out of here are so that it's so small of a hole and such a long distance for us to travel, it won't leak. I'll promise you, I have had no leaking issues at all with this RDA. Coil placement. So another pro on this RDA that I love is the coil placement is extremely forgiving. It's actually a really easy RDA to install on. You're going to put them in Pharaoh style. So you're going to have one lead pointing one way and one lead pointing the other way. Basically like a Pharaoh, you know? And all you have to do is get it somewhere in the middle. You don't have to worry about moving it up or moving it down. It gets blasted by that airflow. As soon as that airflow comes out, it's coming up. I mean, I guess you could push it all the way down to the bottom where it almost grounds out on the deck. The flavor might not be that good, but honestly, if you keep the coil somewhere in the middle of this here, the flavor is going to be amazing. Now, I know I keep mentioning flavor over and over and over again. I want to stress to you how I mean, it is. I have a lot of single coil RDAs, and I absolutely love single coil RDAs. I put this up against any of them. I really, really do. Another huge pro, a lot of single coil RDAs are high-end and expensive, and they're worth it. They're great RDAs. This price point on this on the Asmodus website is $34. Or I saw it on Element Vape for $24. So if you've never tried this or you want to give it a shot, you can pick one up for $24. So even if you don't like it, you can pass it on to somebody else or just not even use it, and you're really not out that much. All right, so that is the Asmodus single coil 24 millimeter RDA. Another great thing about it is with the cap on it here, the airflow control is locked. So when you twist it, it will only go so far. You can do, basically you can cut it down to 6 or 3 on either side, or you can shut it all the way off. I vaped it, shut all the way off, and it's a mouth to lung vape. Very close. I mean, it's more restricted, very restricted direct lung, but you can vape it with it completely closed. It's hot. I mean, it's really hot. You got to turn the wattage down, but you can. Another great thing that I did not mention is you can fit up to 3.5 millimeter coils in there. I mean, it's a big deck. Even though it's constricted in with the post there to restrict the deck or constrict the deck, it's still, you can get 3.5 millimeter coil in there, which is really, really nice. So why don't we wick it up? I'll bring it back up top, and I'm going to give you my pros and cons, and then we will get out of here. See you in a minute. All right, guys, back up top. So, as I've made quite clear, I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, when I decided that I would start doing reviews and people started sending me stuff to review, it was going to be hard for me because I don't like to be negative about things, and it's much easier for me to be positive about things. But what I like to really do is I like to review things I like. I do. And I like to be positive about things. But the biggest thing that I like to do with the reviews for this channel is I like to tell people things that I find that you may not have looked at or you may have overlooked. The C4 RDA is not one that came out of nowhere. It's not one that everybody knows about. You know, I didn't even know about it till last month, and it had been out since, I believe, July or before that, like the end of June, July. So this RDA has been out for a while, and I didn't even know about it. So when I found out about it and I found out I was going to get one, I was excited to give it a shot. At first glance, it's off-putting. It's not one that you would go onto a website and automatically pick out. Now, that's your preference, though. I mean, some people like that look. Some people don't. It's a little gaudy. The gold-plated deck, which, I mean, there's argument about this. You can argue it either way, but gold-plated is more conductive than stainless steel. I mean, just test it. It is more conductive, I assure you of that. So it does give it a little bit more conductivity. The thing hits well. The 510 pin, which I didn't show you, is silver plated, which is a really nice touch for a $30 RDA, and not one that you would normally find. That increases the voltage and the strength of the RDA as well. Pros for this RDA. I made a list here. So, of course, I'm going to mention the wicking, which I talked about. This thing wicks fantastic. It does not leak. So you can basically squonk it all day long, and it will not leak on you. You have absolutely no worries, unless you filled it all the way to the top. I mean, which is going to be hard to do squonking, but if you were dripping, it won't leak. The airflow control, it gives you a lot of control with the locked airflow control on this thing. So you can lock it all the way down and open, right? With just a little turn here. The action on it, it moves really nice. So it's not tight at all. The O-rings on the bottom are tight, but they're not overly tight. So this thing isn't going to pop off, you know, when you're having your pocket or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, the airflow control locks, so you can take it off and on your RDA or your device super easy, which is another pro. The price, 34 bucks. Like I said, I saw it for 24 bucks. It is completely worth that amount of money just to try it. Just to try it, I assure you that it is worth $24 to $34. It doesn't get hot. The anodized aluminum will not get hot. The cap doesn't get hot. Even now, you have to also think the coil is sitting down kind of a little, even though it is low profile, it's not sitting right against the airflow, not against the mouthpiece. It sits down in that little valley there. So you're not like, it's not like the coil's coming all the way up into your mouth when you hit it, even though it is low profile. So it doesn't get hot. It hasn't gotten hot on me. I'm a chain vapor, as you guys know, and I've had no problems with it being hot. And it does. I mentioned it does not leak. The last thing is the flavor. The flavor on it's fucking banging, man. It's as good as any other single coil RDA I have. I do not have a recurve, but I've been told the recurve is fantastic with flavor. And I don't know if this thing, if it's better than this, I would be surprised. I really would. But let me tell you, it is some people have called this the recurve killer, which I thought was kind of odd that you would say that, but just throwing that out there, what people had said. I think that's a little, I don't know, it's a little childish because everybody has their own type of vape that they like. So I don't think you can say one thing is better than another thing when they're both of high quality, because I know the recurve is of high quality as well. So that being said, the cons on this device, the looks. I mean, I just do not like the way it looks. Here it is sitting on the Luna Squonk mod, which is I think is a pretty cool looking mod. It's got kind of that, it actually matches the drip tip that you have for this. So this is a setup I would actually run. It is not the most attractive RDA. The notches on the top here, I don't really care for a whole lot, but it is good to use when you turn your when you're turning your airflow control. Those notches are nice to be able to get a hold of. something I didn't show you, which I should have, it does not have a concave top. The top doesn't come up like this inside the RDA. Let me see if I can show you that. It actually is flat. Let's see if you can see that. See that there? It's flat. It's not concaved. I thought that I probably would have done that, but maybe they know something that I don't because it doesn't affect the flavor. It's an A10 drip tip. I told you that the drip tip was restricted. So if you look there, hey, there's my eye. How you doing? It's an A10 drip tip. But the drip tip is concaved. I think my biggest suggestion to them on this, there's two really. One would be change the look of it. It looks, lessen up the gaudiness of it a little bit. Make the deck stainless steel and not gold plated. And get rid of that stainless steel loop around it. I don't know what that is. I'd get rid of that as well. And probably maybe change the colors, make black and stainless steel and things like that. That'd be my suggestion. But the biggest suggestion I make is change it to a 510. It's an A10 drip tip. It looks odd because it's so big and it's so, the A10 drip tip's so big, it's so short, it looks odd to me like that. Maybe it doesn't to you, but it does to me. I think a 510 drip tip would have been a much better suggestion, or to put a 510 drip tip adapter in the kit. I think that would have been a great idea. And yeah, that's it. I mean, so, you know, in summary, I mean, if you like the way it looks, then you've got to fucking buy it. Because I mean, that's the only thing that holds me back for this RDA at all. The rest of it is gold, man. The rest of it is great. All right, so stick around. I'm going to jump off this stream. I'm going to jump back on with the Vape at 5. I'll be back in 2 minutes for the Vape at 5. All right, guys, we'll see you in about 2 minutes.